The ambush was perfect. The platoon was pinned down, nowhere to run, no air support coming. Just as the enemy sniper lined up for the kill shot, a single bullet cut through the silence. Clean, precise, deadly. The enemy collapsed instantly. A young private blinked in confusion and whispered, "Sir, that shot, that was a ghost recon kill, but she's been MIA for 10 years. Her name was Maya Cross. Once one of the most promising snipers in Ghost Recon, she disappeared during a covert mission in the northern Wadi Mountains 10 years ago. Call sign, Crossfire. Her team had been caught in a coordinated ambush. When rescue forces arrived 3 days later, they found only one survivor, a young recruit named David Bell, badly wounded and in shock. Bell reported hearing a final sniper shot in the distance. Then silence. Maya was officially listed as missing in action, presumed killed in action. A folded flag was presented to her family. Her name was engraved on the memorial wall alongside other fallen heroes. But among the Special Forces community, she became something more than a casualty statistic. She became a whispered legend. Crossfire was spoken with reverence by those who'd trained under her guidance. Fast forward 10 years, a new platoon from the 57th Infantry is conducting field reconnaissance training in that same valley. Their leader? Captain David Bell, that same young survivor who'd grown into a seasoned officer. Bell always approached this terrain with caution. He'd never shaken the feeling that Maya's ghost still watched over these mountains. What was supposed to be a routine training exercise suddenly turned deadly when live rounds started impacting around their position. This wasn't part of the drill. The terrain was hauntingly familiar to Bell. High ridges, narrow passes, perfect ambush country. Exactly like that day 10 years ago. Their communications drone was shot down immediately. Radio jamming cut them off from base support. And somewhere in the tree line, an enemy sniper was systematically targeting his men. 2 forward observers were hit in the first minute. One soldier went down hard, bleeding from his shoulder. Bell's platoon was forced to crawl into a dry creek bed with zero visibility and no way to call for backup. They were trapped, exposed, sitting ducks. The enemy sniper had the high ground and all the time in the world to pick them off one by one. Bell closed his eyes and whispered the same prayer he'd said 10 years ago. "Maya, if you're still out there, we could really use some help." Comment, "I still remember," if you've ever felt protected by someone who wasn't there anymore. Captain Bell called for immediate assistance, but base command confirmed no friendly units were operating in that sector. The enemy sniper continued picking off his forward observers with methodical precision. 2 more soldiers wounded, 1 critically. Bell's unit was pinned down in the creek bed with no visibility and no options. Then suddenly, a clean, crisp rifle shot echoed from the high ridge. The enemy sniper's firing stopped immediately. Complete silence. Bell lifted his binoculars and scanned the ridgeline where the shot had originated. For just a second, he caught a glimpse of a silhouette. Female. Holding a long-range rifle. The figure vanished into the tree line before he could focus. A junior soldier next to him muttered, "Sir, no one's supposed to be up there. That shot was surgical, professional level." Bell remembered something Maya had taught him during training years ago. One shot, one ghost. The target never sees it coming, and neither does anyone else. That evening, base command pulled satellite camera footage from the area and detected an unusual heat signature on the ridgeline. The thermal pattern matched a .50 caliber suppressor that wasn't standard military issue. More intriguingly, they intercepted a brief coded transmission. Eagle dropped. Bravo safe. Returning to Hill. The encryption key matched one that had been decommissioned 10 years ago. Used exclusively by Ghost Recon sniper team. Bell stared at the intelligence report, his voice cracking. "She's alive. Maya's still out there." But his commanding officer was skeptical. "Captain, that's impossible. Maya Cross has been declared KIA for a decade. This is probably local militia with captured equipment." "Sir, I know her shooting signature. I've seen her work. That was Crossfire." "Captain, you're letting emotion cloud your judgment." But Bell knew what he'd witnessed. The precision, the timing, the tactical awareness to wait for the perfect moment. Only Maya Cross shot like that. Over the next week, 3 more patrols reported similar incidents in the Wadi region. Enemy snipers would begin engaging, then suddenly go silent after a single long-range shot from an unknown position. Each time, search teams found enemy casualties with .50 caliber wounds, but no trace of the friendly sniper who'd made the shots. Base intelligence started tracking the pattern. Every incident involved units that were outnumbered, outgunned, or cut off from support. Someone was systematically protecting American forces in that valley. Someone who knew exactly when and where to intervene. Someone who'd been watching, waiting, protecting. Bell requested permission to investigate personally, but was denied. Too dangerous, they said. Too many unknowns. But he couldn't let it go. Maya had saved his life 10 years ago. If she was still alive, still fighting, still protecting soldiers like him, he had to know. Comment "still fighting" if you believe some heroes never really disappear. Against direct orders, Bell returned to the battlefield the following morning to collect equipment and confirm enemy casualties. His team found the enemy sniper's position easily enough, but there was no trace of the unknown marksman who'd eliminated the threat. Only spent .40 caliber casings and a hand-carved stone marker positioned at the optimal vantage point. One shot. Still here. The platoon began whispering among themselves. Is Maya Cross really still alive? Command headquarters remained skeptical. Some officers labeled the reports as elaborate hoaxes or misidentified friendly fire incidents. But Bell believed. He knew Maya better than anyone else who'd survived that original mission. He returned at dawn to the old sniper range where Maya had conducted advanced marksmanship training before her deployment. Hidden under a camouflage net near her favorite shooting position, he found a weatherproof ammunition box tied with military paracord. Inside, Maya's old field notebook, pages filled with enemy movement patterns, counter-sniper grid coordinates, and tactical observations, all updated monthly for the past 10 years. The final entry dated just 3 days earlier. I wasn't lost, I stayed behind. They still needed protection. Signed, during a Maya Crossfire, Bell immediately requested a formal search and rescue operation, but Maya remained invisible to all attempts at contact. However, every patrol that moved through the Wadi region began reporting the same phenomenon. They felt watched, protected, and whenever enemy contact occurred, sniper fire would save isolated units before they could call for help. One lieutenant, grateful for his squad's survival, left a MRE ration pack on a prominent rock with a handwritten note, "Thank you, Crossfire. We know you're there." The next morning, the food was gone. In its place, a paper shooting target with a single bullet hole punched through the exact center. Word spread throughout the division. Soldiers started leaving small offerings: ammunition, water purification tablets, energy bars, always with notes of gratitude. The items always disappeared overnight, replaced by confirmation that someone was watching over them. Bell finally understood what had happened 10 years ago. Maya hadn't been killed in that ambush. She'd chosen to stay behind. While he'd been evacuated to safety, she'd remained in the mountains, alone, watching, protecting every American unit that passed through her territory. For 10 years, she'd been a ghost, living off the land, maintaining her equipment, studying enemy patterns. She'd become the guardian angel that every soldier hoped existed, but never expected to encounter. Bell made one final trip to the ridge where she'd saved his platoon. He left a sealed letter in a military ammo can, weighted down with rocks. The letter read, "Maya, you saved my life twice. Once 10 years ago and once last week. You've saved dozens of others. If you ever want to come home, just say the word. But if you choose to stay, know that every soldier who walks through these mountains knows they're protected. You're not MIA anymore. You're exactly where you choose to be." David Bell. The next morning, the ammo can was still there, but inside, alongside his letter, was a new message. "Home is where you're needed most. I'm already home. Keep them safe when they leave the mountains." Crossfire. Bell realized that Maya had found her own way to serve. She didn't need rescue. She'd chosen her mission, and that mission was protecting the next generation of soldiers who might find themselves in impossible situations. Comment "I never left" if you believe in warriors who never stop protecting. Maya Cross was never officially confirmed alive or brought back to active duty, But the ridge where she'd made that life-saving shot was quietly renamed Crossfire Ridge on military maps. A small memorial plaque was installed near the old sniper platform. For the one who stayed behind, so others could go home. Once a year, Captain Bell hiked to Crossfire Ridge alone. He left a folded letter in the ammo can that had become their unofficial mailbox. The letters always disappeared within 24 hours, replaced by brief confirmations that Maya was still watching over the valley. New recruits asked about the legend. Some believed the stories, others dismissed them as military folklore. But when training exercises turned real, when units got pinned down by enemy fire, when situations became desperate, one clean shot would always ring out from the high ground. The enemy threat would be neutralized, the soldiers would be safe, and no one would ever see the guardian who'd saved them. The nickname spread throughout the entire division. If Crossfire's watching, you're not alone. Soldiers started carrying extra water and ammunition, not for themselves, but to leave at designated drop points for their invisible protector. 5 years later, Bell was promoted to major and transferred to a different command. But he continued monitoring reports from the Wadi region. The pattern never changed. Enemy snipers would be eliminated by precise long-range fire from unknown positions. American casualties in that sector dropped to nearly zero, and every few months, intelligence would intercept the same coded transmission. Eagle dropped. Bravo safe. Returning to Hill. Maya Cross had become something beyond military classification. She'd become a legend that protected people, not because she was ordered to, not because she was paid to, but because she'd chosen to. 10 years later, when Bell visited Crossfire Ridge for what he knew would be the final time before retirement, he found a different message in the ammo can. Thank you for believing. The watch continues. Crossfire. Below that, coordinates for a small cave where she'd stored detailed intelligence files on enemy movements across the entire region. Information that would keep American forces safe for years to come. Comment, I believe in Crossfire, if you think heroes don't need medals to be remembered. Not every hero's story ends with a folded flag and a funeral. Some end with the silence of a single shot, fired by someone the system forgot, but the soldiers never did. Maya Cross didn't come home because she never left her post. She chose the shadows. She chose to be the ghost that guarded the next generation. Some people disappear from the records. Some are erased from official databases. And some remain invisible, watching over those who need protection most. For every name forgotten by bureaucracy, there's someone like Maya Cross still out there, on the ridge, in the dark, with one last bullet that says, I still protect them. The most important service is often the kind that nobody sees. The most valuable protection comes from guardians who choose to remain hidden. And the most powerful love is the kind that asks for nothing in return except the knowledge that others are safe. Look for the invisible heroes. Honor the unknown protectors. And remember that somewhere, someone is watching over you, even when you don't know their name. Comment, she spoke through action, if this story reminds you to honor the unseen guardians. Subscribe to the channel, where forgotten legends are remembered and the truths behind the glory are revealed.